Hey everyone, my name is Hassan DeMarco and I have a really cool job. I'd love to tell you all about it. I'm a barber, but it's a little bit more detailed than that. Actually, barbers do a lot more than just cut hair. Barbers are kind of like therapists, psychiatrists, they're groomsmen, they're people who help with style and fashion. So I do a little bit of all of that. For all kinds of people, professionals, for men, for women, I help them look good and feel good inside and out. To me, a barbershop is like a watering hole, right? So what I mean by that is if you think about Africa or the Serengeti and water gets sparse, it doesn't matter what kind of animal you are or how far away the water source is, you have to come and drink water. It's life-sustaining, right? So the barbershop is like that. It's a community for all kinds of people. As a barber, you have to know how to interact with all the different personality types that you come across. And then you also have to be knowledgeable enough to have good conversations, because I think a good barber is a barber that builds relationships with people. So you have to know how to talk to a scientist, and then you also have to know how to talk to an athlete. Once you form a bond with them, you really look forward to it. You look forward to seeing them. You look forward to them when their hair journey or their new, when they get the promotion or when they welcome a new family member. You know, those relationships that you build really make it worth it. My inspiration for being a barber really comes from my dad. My dad went to barber school and he was a very, very good professional barber. He even owned a barber shop. But by the time I was about 6 years old, he closed down his barber shop and moved into a very different field for work. Fortunately for me, the basement of my home transitioned into a barber shop. So my dad would keep all types of tools, clippers. We had a full barber chair, mirror, station, and I'm one of 4 boys that my parents had. So my dad would not only cut our hair, but he would cut family and friends or people in the neighborhood on his spare time. So I fortunately had an opportunity to grow up in an environment where I had access to all of my dad's tools. Now, a funny thing about my dad is not mechanically inclined. He can't fix anything with his own hands. So when a clipper would stop working, my dad would just put it in a drawer and buy a new one. As a young person, I was about 10 or 11 years old, I would start to pick up the tools and actually fix them. When I figured out how to fix them and how they worked, then I found my brothers. And they were all my guinea pigs. So I gave them all kinds of messed up haircuts. I put my brothers through some trauma. So do it the right way. There are programs that you can get involved in today. Even if you're underage and you're not ready to attend school, there's professional programs you can be a part of to learn how to cut hair supervised the right way. I went to Martin Luther King High School here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And Martin Luther King was a vocational school, so they had different vocational trades that you could take. As a student, I did really, really good, and I loved carpentry. The challenge for me was I excelled as a young carpentry apprentice or learner, but at home, I also was excelling as a barber. And I had a choice to make. Was I going to go to carpentry school or was I going to go to barber school? So in my 12th grade year, I decided, well, I'll try barber school. And I figured if I complete the course and I really like it, then I'll just try it. So I went part-time for 15 months and I got licensed and went into my very first shop as a professional licensed barber in 1995. So now, 29 years later, I've never gone back to carpentry school. So barbering for me was the answer. So for my career, I think it's very, very important to make sure that I cater to the 5 senses. When they come here, for me, I like to make sure I cater to the sense of sight. You know, I want them to look good, to look in the mirror and be happy with what they see. But I think the space should be clean, neat. Also, I cater to the sense of smell. So it smells good. I always use candles and fragrance. The sense of hearing, I use that through music. Everything from jazz music to even some hip hop or R&B. Sense of touch, I don't do just an average haircut, but I also add a facial to all of my services. So I have a really nice light touch. People enjoy the service. They're very, very relaxed. The 5 senses to me are very, very important. So that's what my space is. I love my barber equipment, all of my tools. And I think about barbers from 50 or 60 years ago. They were very limited in their tool choices. Most barbers had an array of maybe 4 or 5 clippers and they did every haircut and that was it. But now there's all types of cool companies and clippers. So I have an addiction problem. If a new tool comes out, I have to try it. So what you see on my station is actually a small sample of all the tools that I have. I have over 20 working pair of clippers that I use and trimmers, but my tools vary from clippers and trimmers. I have razors, shears that I love. So I have a lot of tools, and I honestly think it's the most fun part of barbering to me, mastering a new tool. Think about tools like instruments. Every instrument is different, it gives a different sound. So every tool for a barber is also a tool that does a different, unique, specific purpose. So those tools are just wonderful, and I love to learn as many tools as I can. These are my favorite, absolute favorite clippers, the Andis Master. It's actually a 100-year-old patent that just keeps evolving. It used to have cords and lots of different models, but this is the newest model. As you can see, it's cordless, very powerful, easy to carry, easy to get around with, but I love this clipper. Can't cut without it. Growing up, I thought of a creative as someone who would write poetry or paint pictures. But as I grew older, I got to appreciate all the different mediums that artistry comes in. And that's when I kind of took a step back and I looked back at my career and my life and said, well, it's been there all along. And I've been finding outlets for it. And in high school, it was carpentry and cutting hair. And, you know, it was reading books and it was poetry. You know, these things have always been very inspirational. I've looked at them as true landmarks in my life, getting a chance to enjoy a good jazz concert or show. So I've always migrated towards the artistic world, and I think barbering has given me an outlet for that. I went to what I call the school of hard knocks, which is I learned how to figure it out on my own. Took some bumps and bruises, made some bad decisions and some good decisions. But one thing I wish I had done is put more consideration and time into going back to school for a business education. And I think that just because you're good or passionate about what you do, baking cakes or pies, cutting hair, or fixing things around the house, it doesn't mean that you should open a business. Perfect your craft, but then also learn how important it is to manage your books and to make critical decisions for business. Those things are very, very important. So if you think that you have it figured out and you know what you want to do, why not put some time and interest into building the framework the right way, so that as you go about whatever you're passionate in, then you can do it the right way. You can work more efficiently, more effectively, and you could be better off financially. Well, thank you guys for listening to me. I really appreciate that, and I hope that I have inspired you to find a cool job that you can do for the rest of your life.